Good morning. Hi, welcome to Windward Buddhist Temple family service. My name is Merle Tashiro and I'll be your MC. We'll begin with the ringing of the temple bell or kansho that signifies the beginning of a temple service. It is a deep and sacred ritual steeped in ancient tradition. It is a calling of the people to come together to listen to the Dharma or teachings. The temple bell represents the gratitude and deep appreciation of the members, friends, and guests of Windward Buddhist Temple. Please sit quietly in your seat. Please rise for the meditation, followed by the chanting of the Vandana Tisarana by the congregation in Pali and English. The Vandana Tisarana can be found in the red Jodo Shinshu service book on page 7.
The sun shines upon the earth, awakening into growth the seeds that lie dormant in the soil. May the light of wisdom shine into our minds and truly awaken us to our ignorance, and by this insight, stir us to strive for a life of deeper understanding and enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda.
Please be seated. Today's sutra is Praises of the Buddha, found in the Red Jodo Shinshu Service Book on page 112. Again, Praises of the Buddha on page 112 of the Red Jodo Shinshu Service Book.
Your face shines in great splendor, boundless, wondrous dignity, such the greatness of your life, beyond all comparison, brightness of the sun and moon, and the shining many jewels, when compared to patience and effort, meditation and wisdom shall be supreme, unsurpassed. I will attain Buddhahood, everywhere fulfill my vow, bringing to all those in fear great peace and tranquility. Though there are myriad Buddhas, beyond measure, beyond count, and great sages numberless, like the grains of Ganges sand, I will honor each of them, equally accepting none. Even more importantly, I will seek the supreme way, even though all Buddha worlds are countless as Ganges sands, even though all lands and realms are boundless without measure, yet my light shall reach them all and illumine every place. Such shall be my perfect work, such my power infinite. When I attain Buddhahood, my land will be first and best, place of practice transcendent, its people sublime and rare, land equal to nirvana, beyond all comparison, with pity for everyone, I will carry all across, all who come from 10 quarters to be born into my land, to attain pure joyful mind, peace and great tranquility. Be my witness, Buddha, please, confirm my sincerity. Now that I have made my vows, I will try to fulfill them. Buddhas of the 10 quarters, with your wisdom unhindered, may all of these honored ones know my deepest intention, even though my body must bear great pain and suffering. I will persevere and strive patiently without regret. Nama We are born in the land of peace. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Please rise for the recitation of the Shinshu Pledge 2 in the red service book on page 6. Shinshu Pledge 2. Entrusting in the vow of the Buddha and reciting the sacred name, I shall proceed through the journey of life with strength and joy, revering the light of the Buddha and reflecting upon my imperfect self. I will strive to live a life of gratitude, following the teachings of the Buddha and discerning the right path. I spread the true Dharma, rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding others. I shall do my best to work towards the welfare of society.
Namo
Namo
Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo.
Please remain standing for the Gatha Hotoke-sama 2 in the Brown Praises of the Buddha book on page 74. That's Hotoke-sama 2. Thank you. Please be seated. Reverend Brennan, our speaker this morning. Sensei.
Good morning. We're doing it a little differently this morning. I'll be giving a short Dharma talk, and then we have a special guest who I'll introduce to you afterwards. I decided that, I was reading about this minister in Canada. His name is Frederick Ulrich. And what caught my eye was that he had written this special poem about the environment. but he also wrote about the history of the golden chain of love. And I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with that story, but it was written by someone named, wait, I gotta change my page. Sorry, you think I would have this in my brain already, but you know how that goes with aging. Her name was Dorothy Poulton before she got married to Ernest Hunt. And they met in Europe, and in 1915, they came out to Hawaii. So many people all over the world consider the golden chain of love as a basis for the Buddha's teachings. And it's a very positive approach to learning Shin Buddhism. You know, at the time they came, everything was delivered in Japanese. You know, it was a Japanese church. So when she created this golden chain of love, it was really refreshing for people to be able to learn something in English. And it was created a little bit differently than how it is now. Actually, the only difference I saw was the first phrase, and it says, "I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. In gratitude, may I keep my link bright and strong." And I thought, wow, that for some reason over the years, over the transitions of people trying to change the golden chain, that part was eliminated. But you know, if you grew up in Buddhism at any of the churches, we all learned golden chain of love. And our parents learned the golden chain of love. It's an easy recitation at Honganji Mission School in Honolulu as part of their classroom what's the word? Anyway, as part of what they do every morning is they all say the golden chain of love. So my two grandsons have learned it, and it's just wonderful. If I'm just wondering, are they absorbing the meaning of it? You know, I mean, it could be by rote, you know? I mean, they can just say these words. And so it's one of those things that we just hope it does sink in. And through Dharma school or through parents, you know, teaching these beautiful words of the golden chain of love can offer them some guidance for life. This minister, Sensei Ulrich, he was a Haole guy, obviously, and he was one of the few teachers of Buddhism in Canada. And because he could communicate so well, he really attracted a lot of people who were interested in Buddhism. So when they came over here, Ernest Hunt was renamed Shinkaku. He became head of the Honganji English department in 1924. By 1928, he had attracted over 60 people of all origins who had become Buddhists through their guidance, through his and his wife's guidance. And they also were very involved in the community with the Theravada lineage, met monks, and they were even given a special name, Doctor of Dharma, from the Burmese monks in Hawaii. However, many of you know that Reverend Bishop Imamura, who was very innovative, he suddenly passed away. And when that happened, a new bishop came from Japan who did not have an all-embracing approach to Buddhism for the local community. And instead, he thought that Hunt's universal approach was not, he thought it was objectionable. So he fired the Hunts, excuse me, and disbanded the English department. He also stopped any attempt to reach human beings beyond the Japanese community or beyond the Japanese language as well. And because the Hunts had been ordained as Theravada doctorates, excuse me, they helped many people find Buddhism. Now that they were kicked out of their profession, no longer allowed to work for the Shin community that they so dearly loved, they were hired by Soto Zen minister Komagata in 1953. And so he became very active at that temple. Reverend Hunt died at the age of 90, but we have Dorothy Hunt's Golden Chain of Love. And the person who wrote the article about the history of Golden Chain, he said, you know, the way that the Hunts were treated, and they kind of disappeared. Not that many people know about them and the influence that Dorothy Hunt had in creating the Golden Chain. And so, you know, but today it's still around, thank goodness. So we have the Hunts to be grateful for in providing English services to our community, at least initially while Bishop Imamura was in office. Obviously that we have to teach about the other power, understand the teaching of other power. Embracing the other is our first humble step towards understanding the importance of other power. This is an ever-present tension in the theories of Jodo Shinshu theology. And Reverend Ulrich says, we are indeed in serious danger when we see our good actions as worthless and our evil actions as effective enough to damn us. This gives too much power to the negative in our lives. There develops a kind of subtle pride in being evil if we're not careful. He said he has read Shinran, that our good actions, to say that our good actions, our neutral actions, and our bad actions are all ineffective compared to the primal vow of Amida Buddha. This means here on ground zero of everyday life, that the Nembutsu gives us courage to see that there are some things so worthwhile, it is important to do them, even if we do them imperfectly. Shinran's teachings frees us from self-loathing and from a fixed preoccupation with the darker side of a human character. Thus, the Golden Chain leads us to the importance of other power in humility and gratitude. So that was just something that I thought you might enjoy learning about this morning. We do have a special speaker this morning along with me. It is Karen Radius. She'll tell us about her volunteer work with the Care Center at Daybreak Church. And some of the members here visited the Daybreak Church, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, just to find out what our community service is all about. And this is where we're going to go there and we'll serve a lunch and provide snack bags, but Karen will probably tell you more about that. We became familiar with the location. It's just off of Poly Highway. And just as a note, I first met Karen Radius, who used to be a First Circuit Family Court judge before she retired, and she does a lot of good things concerning juvenile issues. Karen, please come up.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for that warm welcome. So I'm also known as Karen Radius Telio. My husband is Japanese and Filipino. His mom's parents came from Japan to do sugar in Kauai, and she was a member of not your congregation, but her funeral was in the Buddhist tradition and was a lovely one. And we just celebrated is a funny word, but his aunt died at 100, and we were in the Wailua Buddhist temple in all Japanese, about 3 minutes of English. Anyway, so that being the case, I want to thank your congregation for your consistent support of the Kailua Service Care events. It's not a center per se. It's how we started was, as you drive past Castle Hospital and keep going down Kailua Road, you see 5 churches in a row. I don't know what happened when Kailua was built in the 50s, but somehow they all got a piece of the action. One of which is St. John Lutheran, which is my church. And I have to tell you that the Germans did the exact same thing in the mainland, in the Midwest, whence I was born. If you didn't speak, there was a German service. My grandfather prayed the Lord's Prayer in German till the day he died. He thought the world was going to hell when they got an English hymn book. At any rate, but so life happens in all different settings. So at any rate, I was on the Social Concerns Committee of our church, along with 2 retired social workers. And we would have small fundraisers and raise $1,000 here and there and give them to a local charity and do what we could. And we decided, we aren't making a dent in anything. We are just having a party, raising a little bit of money, and feeling good for 2 days. So what can we do? So what we decided was we would have an open house at our church and invite the churches along Church Road, because we'd seen that they were running the same kind of fundraisers and giving small amounts of money to various do-good stuff. But we invited not just those 5 churches, we invited other churches, civic organizations, state legislators, the police, whoever wanted to come. And 60 people came. I almost fell off my chair because I thought, wait, nobody ever responds to meetings on a Sunday afternoon. We had donuts, that helped. But at any rate, so we talked about what issues are happening in this is 6 years ago, what issues are happening in our community that we would like to see addressed, and how do you address them? So we had speakers come in from IHS and from FACE, which is Faith Action Community something. They lobby a lot about lower income housing, etc. We had some people come and talk about, at that point, refugee crisis in Europe and people leaving and going on boats and sinking. So we had international stuff, and people decided it's homelessness, and it's here in Hawaii. That's what we want to concentrate on. So a bunch of us got together, and the first question was finding a site, because so many of the churches have preschools. They're nervous about having homeless people on the campus. What finally happened is Daybreak Church shares a parking lot with the YMCA. And so the Y and Daybreak Church agreed, okay, we can be here. So we started out with, all right, we just started to ask people, no ask, no get. What can we do to provide a meal, a snack bag to take with you, hygiene supplies? How do we get that all together? But more than that, okay, if we give them a meal that feeds them for this minute, but that doesn't help them, our guests, we call them our houseless guests, that doesn't help them get any kind of leg up or training or aiming toward housing or aiming toward mental health treatment or drug treatment or whatever the the crisis they're facing at the particular time. I don't know how many of you know Doc Burrows, who was a very active in the Hawaiian community and working on stuff in the marsh and on the heiau. He was one of the instrumental people also, and saw so many of the homeless have some Hawaiian roots in their background. So as we decided to do that, so we started in 1917, we said, okay, we're going to try this, what the heck. And being a retired family court judge, I know a lot of social workers. So I opened up, I still had a Rolodex. I'm about to be 3 centuries old. I mean, not 3 centuries, 3/4 of a century. Whew. It feels like 3 centuries some days, I got to tell you. Anyway, but at any rate, so, okay, started to call agencies and saying, if we gave you this space to be on the last Tuesday of each month, could you send somebody to actually meet with them? Because none of our homeless guys are getting on the bus to go into offices in town or in Evilea, or they just don't. So what's happened is we've gotten, over the last year we fed 436 people. This year in 2023, which is an average of 35 to 40 a month, depends on the rain and all kinds of other stuff. And sometimes we see people consistently for several months, and then we don't see them at all again. Other times we only see them once or twice. So at the service event, which is from 10 to noon, and you're welcome to come and visit, some of you have, and you're going to be there in person to serve the meal, you get to know the people, and there's tables that they can sit and eat now that COVID's over, and you sit down and you chat with them. And, you know, sometimes it starts with, gee, Karen, you got a cane? I do too. And you start to talk about health. So Waimanalo Health Center sends 2 advanced practice nurses. Helping Hands sends people to qualify you for food stamps. Legal Aid comes to help you get missing documents. Catholic Charities has a vets program and a housing program. IHS has housing and work, ready to work. And they actually have, and then Daybreak runs a clothes closet where they have clean, used clothing that you can pick out a fresh one. And the Hiei shower van, hot shower van comes so you can take a shower, wash your hair, eat your meal. And we have one wonderful beautician that most months she comes and cuts hair for free. And nothing like a clean hot shower and haircut and people to talk to that respect you. So I've had people say, you know, I really like to come because I feel like you respect us. It's not like you're just a do-gooder and you're feeling sorry for us. Although I must admit, last week with the rain and the wind and my house shaking, literally, the windows were, I thought they weren't going to stay in, but I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, if I were out under a tarp or a tent, where would I be right now and how would I be coping? So we aren't solving homelessness. We're doing what we can. We're trying to connect them. Lisa Martin, who's our state rep, is doing lots of bills this session to try and get more funding toward low-income housing and transition programs, etc. IHS comes every single time. They have right now 1 windward outreach worker. So what happens is we serve the meals. If there's extra meals prepared and left over, that IHS worker takes them out into the bushes and the marsh and under the stairs and all the places people are. what we're next working on is there's a licensed clinical social worker who works at the Kaneohe Mental Health Clinic right across from the district pool. I was talking to her about, there's times that we have never had a violent confrontation by any of the people who've come. And we think that's partially because this is very low-key, you're not pushed through, you're eating outside on the lanai, and it's an okay place to be. At any rate, the Department of Health now is training police on how to deal with homeless people who have mental health issues or drug issues, so that it's not an immediate arrest them, get them into court, put them in jail 2 days, and just the constant again and again and again stuff. Well, that's the other people who come. The public defenders and the prosecutor come for the guys who have outstanding warrants, and the warrants aren't for big crimes. They're because they failed to show up for a court date, so they can get that worked out. The courts are doing courts in the community, so they come out to Wahiawa and Kaneohe and Pearl City and hold a community court where the people who's got all the warrants and they want to straighten out their record and figure out, then they can do community service, and they can also get connected to agencies. So there's a lot of movement toward how do we get people connected, because the homelessness is a major disconnection with family, with others. They burned a lot of bridges. There's too much sex, drugs, and rock and roll in this world. So that's what we're all about. And the other thing is, right now, this next month, we'll have visitors from River of Life and Inspire Church, who wants to start a similar thing in Kaneohe. St. Anne's Catholic Church had been doing it, and then when the pandemic came, they just couldn't keep up, and they've closed their school. They've got a lot of stuff going on over there. So we're hoping to. There was one like this in Haleiwa before that we sort of modeled ourselves after. There was one in town that was an Episcopal priest who was running everything. That one closed down during the pandemic. So we've survived throughout the pandemic, which we attribute to the help of the community and the steadfastness. Prudence has been your representative forever. She answers. I'm called the volunteer communicator. Volunteer because I volunteer, and communicator because I like to talk and write, as you might have noticed. At any rate, so I send out emails to about 150 people saying, here's the next session, here's who's going to serve the food, here's who's going to bring the snack bags, here's the things we need right now. For a while, you might have noticed deodorant now costs $10, what used to cost $1.50, right? We're in dire need of deodorant. So in my emails I put thanks to the people who did it the past month, and here's what's coming up in the next month. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask after the service, or stay in touch with your leaders. But I appreciate the offer to be able to come and chat with you all and speak in English. But I was also looking at your pledge. Guys, you got to believe here. I will respect and help others and do my best for the welfare of humankind. So I quit. I'm done. You've already pledged.
Thank you so much, Karen. I think it's a very eye-opening explanation to us as what's going on and what's available and what can be done to help the community. And I think most of us were not aware of all the services that you're providing. And to Reverend, I was telling my husband, when you talked about Reverend Hunt, I said that name just totally rang a bell, because I know that in our Gotha book, we have a lot of Gothas written by D. Hunt, which would be Dorothy Hunt. Things that you sing, Life Never Dies, Lord Buddha Speaks to Me, and, a lot of these songs that we sing, if you look on the left-hand side, it says D. Hunt. So that was written by Dorothy Hunt. And so she had a great influence on us. And I know I've seen that name a lot over the years. So when you said that, I went to look. There's like 6 or 7 gathas written by Dorothy Hunt. This morning, our gatha is going to be Namu Amida Butsu, and that's in the Brown Book on page 104. And after the gatha, please remain standing for the Nembutsu.
to be peace, we must first be aware that all things in this world are interconnected. We should care for and value other people's lives as well. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you. Please be seated. That ends the service this morning, but we have announcements. Dennis.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Reverend Barbara, for leading the service and for your message on the golden chain. Merle, our MC, David, our greeter, Bob for ringing the concho, and Lisa for playing the piano. Today's refreshment is by Team A, led by leader Dana. We have, other than Karen, one other guest. And Jen, if you could introduce your grandson.
It's my grandson, Axel. He's 7, and he's been here for other things, but never for a service. So he said he really likes the songs.
Good. I'm sure he'll like the refreshments too.
He said, when are we going to eat?
Okay, for announcements. Next week, Sunday, we'll be observing Spring Ohigang, or Spring Equinox. We'll also have our monthly remembrance service. If you'd like to remember a loved one who passed away in the month of March of any year, you may do so during the remembrance service. Please add your name to the name of your loved one to the list that we'll have at the greeter's desk. If you have a picture of your loved one, you're welcome to bring that also. Please don't forget there won't be a Sunday service at the end of the month, the 25th. Instead, we'll be participating in the Hongganji Spring Bazaar that will be held at the Betsuing. I have an updated flyer. There's a lot of information on it, and I'll have it posted on the bulletin board. But there's all kind of foods for one. That's, I think, the major draw. Things like, Wynwood Buddhist Temple will have our famous takuang, bitter melon. We'll have a variety of manju. And I think our fundraising committee will be selling some other non-food items as well. But there's all kind of other foods, from beef stew, pork adobo. We'll have makizushi, and we Hawaiian plate. In fact, the makizushi and Hawaiian plates are being pre-sold on the Betsuing's website. I have the web address listed, so if you want to write it down or something. I was hoping they'd put the QR code, and I think the next version of the flyer might have it, but that way you can just kind of take a picture. You can go right to the website. The pre-sale, there's actually a little surcharge. For example, the makizushi, it's $7 a roll, and I do have tickets for the makizushi at $7. So if you want, come see me afterwards. You can buy it cheaper here than online. The Hawaiian plate is online, is being sold for $26. Unfortunately, I don't have tickets for that, but they're otherwise supposedly $25. But the only way I see, based on the website, is to go to Betsuing to buy them. You know, they haven't given me any pre-sale tickets. So I'll find out. Hopefully, I'll have something to tell you next Sunday. But I'm looking forward to that Hawaiian food plate. Let's see, was there something else on that? Wait, I'm not there yet. Just like a wife. Oh, she is my wife. Okay, in conjunction with the Spring Bazaar, as I said, we're going to sell takuang, bitter melon, and so on. So we're going to be making the bitter melon, namasu, and takuang, and the manju. Kuki will be leading the preparation of the bitter melon and the takuang Wednesday and Thursday. So Wednesday, bitter melon, if you can come and help, it'll be at 8 o'clock. Wednesday the 25th, no, 23rd? 23rd. Okay, 8 o'clock. And the takuang will be Thursday at 8 o'clock. If you want to help, if you have any questions, see Kuki. It's primarily slicing, I guess the bitter melon and especially the daikon. I mean, that's a lot of work, okay? And then towards the end, after it's marinated, it'll be a matter of packaging into containers. On Saturday, Janet and I will be making manju. Janet will start at 8 o'clock also Saturday. So again, if those of you are interested in helping, she's looking for several people to help with that. Please see Janet after the service. Let's see. Okay, I think that's, any questions, see me. If not, again, I'll announce it next week. The adult Dharma classes titled Basic Buddhism began yesterday. And according to Reverend Burt, we had 11 people sign up. That's terrific. Earlier in the week, I asked Reverend, so how many people signed up? There were only, 6 names, I think? So that's pretty good. And then, as a reminder, we have a flyer on the bulletin boards. You can also, if you haven't already signed up or you'd like to sign up for the next remaining classes, you can look at the flyer on the bulletin board. Next week, Sunday the 19th, we start our semi-annual food drive to benefit the Hawaii Food Bank from March 19th until April 16th. So we'll have boxes and we'll have signs up so you know where exactly to place all your non-perishable items. Let's see, on the first Sunday in April, no service again here. Instead, there'll be the Hawaii Buddhist Council Buddha Day service at the Juro Mission of Hawaii in Lower Makiki. The choir, the Betsuing choir will be performing, and they've asked if anyone would like to join them. I will, so please others do. It's just one song, and it's actually quite a simple song, so it'll be fun. Several of us have joined them in other times in the past. Shirley, Linda Jaffe, I forget, there are several others that had also helped, but it's fun. So you can see me about that too. And then on April 9th, the second Sunday, we're going to have a joint Buddha Day service here, and it'll be joint with the Kaneohe Higashi Honganji. They've visited, was it 4 or 5 years? Maybe a bit longer. But we've gone to their temple last August. So we have kind of a close relationship, and the minister there estimated maybe about 10 people will be joining us. So we'll have a kind of a full house. So please look forward to that. As usual, every Buddha Day to commemorate the birth of the Buddha, we'll have a statue of the baby Buddha, and you're going to be pouring the sweet tea to represent the rain that the day that he was born, and there'll be a garden surrounding the baby Buddha. So that'll be a sight to see. I'm sure it'll be very nice. That the decoration will be led by Prudence. So we are expecting. I think that's all I have. Cynthia has a couple announcements.
Morning, everyone. Okay, just a reminder, we have our passport table outside. So if you brought your passports, because Reverend Brennan is here, she can initial your passport for you. And the other thing, it's bingo day, so I'll hurry up and finish my announcements so we can get started. And the last thing is, Piper Toyama, who was the former president of the Honpa Honganji Mission of Hawaii and member of the Jikoen Honganji, has published a book called Family Stories from the Plantation and Beyond. So profits from all the books that are sold will be donated to the Jikoen Building Fund. So his book is a collection of small stories. His family stories begin on a sugar plantation on the Big Island. So maybe some of you can relate to these stories. He shares his stories in the local talk story style. Piper's stories focus on life's small moments that often go unremembered. He talks about the putt-putt he rode to school, the big fish that fed the entire student body of Honoka'a School, blazing cane fires, the annual plantation fishing derby, his feisty mother, and his football-loving father. He goes beyond plantation days and shares stories of his first winter in Massachusetts, where he met and married Lois Bredberg. He tells of the values he learned from his parents and what he learned in raising his 2 daughters on the Big Island. His stories spring to life through old photos from his family album. So it's $16 for the book. So if you'd like to order the book, there are 3 different ways that you can order it. So we'll post this so you can see it. Okay, thank you.
Piper and I went to the same school, same as Ron, Honoka'a High School. And I remember that big fish. Our former principal had gone deep sea fishing in Kona and caught a huge marlin. So he brought it back to the school, and the cafeteria served it. So that was, I don't remember what it tasted like, but I remember. Any other announcements? If not, it's time to eat. Let's do the words of thanksgiving. That's found on page 126 of the Red Service Book. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddhist compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu. Thank you, everyone.